Hello, everybody, and welcome to a roundtable edition of Film Sack. Yes, that's right. It's me, Scott Johnson, Brian Ibbett, Randy Jordan, and Brian Dunaway. Hello, everybody.
Oh, hi. Boy, this table really is round. I thought it was going to be oblique, but...
I sanded it, actually, and then did some measurements to make sure it was perfectly round.
You took out the insert as well, which is nice.
I did, yes. Otherwise, it would have been oblong.
Yeah.
Right.
My mom had an insert, and she made us take it out every time anyone came over.
Man, don't you hate it when a table has a square, like it's like has a pointy, sharp edge for you to impale yourself?
Yeah, I don't like that.
I hate hexagonal. Yep. There's like hexagonal tables, like poker tables.
Yeah.
Oh, what a pain in the ass.
Yeah. I don't like it. You're gonna hit your rib or something on there.
Exactly.
So the round table is the best table, is what I'm hearing. All right, four votes for a round table.
Yeah, there you go. Right. But not today. Today we're not talking about tables or how round they might be. We're just doing a round table about a topic, and that topic this week is military movies. Movies about war, if you will. Not always war, but sometimes preparation
is it good
to war.
For?
Yeah, what is it good for? And the truth is absolutely nothing. Say it again.
Say that again. Yeah.
So let's kick it off first with Randy, who thought of this idea and kind of what I'm actually curious what your thinking was.
War movies are such a seemingly specific genre, but then when you start thinking about it, there's all of these different genres of war movie, right? And like I came up with 4 different groupings of just the things that we've sacked, right?
Oh, interesting. All right.
So like there's like war movies, and this is just me reviewing my memory of us sacking things. This is not like I didn't get everything, right? Mm-hmm. But like there's war movies that are about a war that has happened, right?
Okay. Sure.
Like, that's kind of what we're talking about. But there's all these other things. There's like movies about people who have been to war, right?
Yeah.
And we've sacked 3 of those.
July,
yeah, sure.
For our history, I've got First Blood, Rambo 2, and Iron Eagle, right? They're all like,
that's good too, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're not it's hard to call them war movies, right? Because they're definitely about people making war. And then there's fictional wars. Oh my gosh, we've sacked a lot of movies about fictional wars.
Starship Troopers.
Yeah, I just listed 7. Of those, and it's like it includes like Red Dawn and Edge of Tomorrow.
Edge of Tomorrow's a great one.
I keep forgetting that we sacked Star Wars 7: The Force Awakens.
Right.
Did we?
Yes, we did.
Did we really?
Right after it came out. Yeah.
Wait.
Yeah.
We did. That's one of the first times we did that. I don't know why that's easy to forget. I should remember it for that, but yeah.
Yeah, so like there's fictional wars, and then there's war adjacent movies, and that list goes on forever. I listed 11 war adjacent movies that we've sacked, like Lord of War and Battleship and the A-Team and Universal Soldier and War Games, and it just goes.
So not like War of the Roses or nothing. I got you. So still real war. I got you.
Which I don't think we did War of the Roses anyway, but yeah. Like, so would you consider something like Forrest Gump? That's one of those about people who went to war, kind of. I
would call it a war movie. I think Forrest Gump is a war movie. I'm interested in what you think.
It's because such a significant portion of the film takes place during a war,
right?
But it's I don't think I'd call it a war movie. I'd call it a growing up movie, or a boyhood style movie where you're watching somebody grow up and just part of their life happens to take place during a war.
Right. I mean, because he has an extended growth period, right? Because he's slow. Yeah. So it takes him a little longer to get grown. Right.
Exactly. But I think of like Platoon and Hamburger Hill and things like that as war movies. I know it's lunchtime. We're all hungry. But things like that. And that's why it's so hard for us to find good war movies. Plus, they all contain that Creedence Clearwater Revival song. They all have to.
And that's why I came up with this category of war adjacent. I'm arguing that Forrest Gump is a specifically war movie because there are sequences that take place in Vietnam while he is in a war and people get killed and so on. Sure. And like that just feels like a war movie. It's not Saving Private Ryan, but
it also has a really important knock-on effects, like Lieutenant Dan and his entire arc of survival, and then later helping him run the shrimp company. You don't have it without the war, right? So I guess you could see that. What makes it different, I guess, especially a Vietnam War thing, is most Vietnam War movies chronicle like the horrible impact it had on people, or how they had to do terrible things there, and that's hard to come back from, and all that.
The Coming Home, which was famously shown in the film Coming Home.
Yeah, coming home. I remember that one. But point
John Voight.
point being, it's like that movie was one of the first, maybe one of the only I've ever seen where he wasn't affected adversely from the war. I mean, he's also a special case. It's freaking Forrest Gump, and take the word special.
He's not affected by much, really. In that whole film, he's very, he just sees things as like, yeah, that's what it is, and okay, and move on to the next thing, and that's what it is, and
this is life, I suppose. It's like a box of chocolate. Oh, okay,
something like that. What were you going to say, Dunaway? You had something you were going to say before.
I was going to say, you can't talk about Forrest Gump without talking about his military service, because it really defined his whole life, right? So I mean, that's true of real humans. I mean, if anyone's been in real active war, it's going to define everything in your life there forward. So
let's categorize it as with like our First Blood, where it's about war, but it's not a war movie.
Okay,
right. It's a continued war, because now he's battling the man.
Yeah, the aftermath of war, so to speak.
Sure.
A question that always comes up for me is, does a war movie have to be a bummer? Like we don't sack a lot of war movies because we don't like the sack. We don't like to get all depressed.
Right.
And except for Pearl Harbor, that was a good time. That was happiness. It was all.
Was it?
Good times. And
I mean, it was fun. It was fun to sack it with you guys, without a doubt.
Well, the reason we had other reasons. It was like, hey, Michael Bay made this, and there's some cheese factors that they're important to talk about or whatever. But I don't even feel like that's a good.
I don't see sacking Apocalypse Now, for example.
Right, because Pearl Harbor is it didn't just go with the war. You have lives continuing. You have relationships because they have these nurses. It reminds me more of like what you see with MASH. There's this intermingling, whereas a lot of the war movies we end up watching is very much the frontline guys from that time period, and that's, you get a good buddy feeling and stuff. But it's just kind of like everybody's in the same situation, and that can be pretty dark, right?
It can be dark. It also can be the light of it, right? It can be the thing that interpersonal whatever can be the reason that you feel good in the end, at least have some good feelings about it.
Film Sack is where we sit and watch a movie with three other guys, and I don't particularly want to watch Saving Private Ryan with you. Like I
no offense.
I'm not saying I dislike it.
Randy.
I'm not saying I dislike it conceptually. It's just I don't want to watch that movie in the first place again.
Right.
Yeah, but I feel like I was thinking about this, like what war movies, ones that take place during the war, could we watch? And the only one that came to mind was the Michael J. Fox, Sean Penn, Casualties of War.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen it. I'd watch that.
I've never seen it either, but it feels like if there's one that we could do. Unfortunately, it's got a pretty high, it's pretty highly well regarded, so it probably doesn't have the cheese factor, that we'd be looking for, but.
Yeah,
we'd be the bad guy. You're saying we'd be the bad guys for making fun of people with war trauma? Okay, I could
probably.
See
that. I mean, Ving Rhames, John Leguizamo, John C. Reilly, and this is a 1989 film. So
oh my gosh!
Before we'd even known who a lot of these people were back then.
Yeah, that's a ways back. I would watch that, but I also think that the problem with war movies is that they usually are really well made. There's a reverence for the material, usually.
Yeah,
not always, but most of the time. So it ends up being Sergeant Bilko or freaking. We don't even go there. Actually, it's more of a comedy, although that one might work. But we veer away from them.
Would be just as delicious.
Oh my gosh, Major Payne!
Not war movie,
but like we love Stripes, and Stripes had mostly comedy, but Stripes also had some very pointed political comments to make about war and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
so
I've got Stripes in my list of 5 war movies that we've sacked. I don't love it as for the subject war movie. It's really this other thing, but it's only it only really takes place in a military base, so it kind of has to be. The towering comedy that kept coming to mind for me is, of course, Good Morning Vietnam. And it's hard to even call that a comedy because that movie is about how comedy can keep people from the depths of despair, but even comedy can't overcome the despair of war. Right. Like war is so awful that even this incredible comedian gets dragged down to failure by it.
Somebody once told me that movie's more about office politics than it is about war. And it really made me think, because like the infighting about what is allowed on the air or not, and whether this is good for the troops or not, all that kind of stuff.
Right. Yeah, it was pretty much WKRP whether Johnny Fever could say booger or not, right? That was, was the whole rub.
Hold on, was that the word on that episode? It couldn't say
That's
booger?
how they launched the whole Johnny Fever. He told him that you can say booger on the air, and so he scratched the record, and he was born just like that.
I don't remember that. That's crazy. Why? I knew that there was an episode where he couldn't say a word. Right. I knew there was a thing.
That it was booger.
Yeah, I didn't remember it being booger. That's funny.
He says booger.
Oh, now that you do it like that, I remember it. Yeah.
Oh,
very
man.
George Carlin-esque, like in the microphone. Booger.
Anyway, back to war movies. We're never going to do like 1917 or what's the one I still haven't seen from
Dunkirk.
Hacksaw Ridge.
Still haven't seen Dunkirk. Saw Hacksaw Ridge, really liked it, but it's just that is the most
not sackable.
Not sackable.
Yeah. I want to say never on any of it, because like, can anybody name the other World War II movie that we've sacked?
That we've done?
Pearl Harbor and
hold on. We did World War II? Shit.
The Dirty Dozen.
Very good.
Oh,
yes.
shit.
Oh, wow.
Nicely done.
We sacked the Dirty Dozen, and that would have struck me as not a great time for us. And then I'm like, wow, I really enjoyed watching that movie.
Oh, I love Dirty Dozen. So good.
Yeah, it was great. But it has historical relevance. It has, it's a classic in a bunch of ways. What's the one that we saw? Oh, we ended up seeing Full Metal Jacket, didn't we?
Correct. Yeah, that's one of our Vietnam movies.
Okay. So the reason I bring that one up is because that's a great example of a thing that wrecked me in '87 when I saw it the first time. Multiple times seeing it, and I never walked away feeling good. It was just always like, ugh, Kubrick, what are you doing? You've ruined, this is why I never want to get. In fact, I think it's responsible for my draft anxiety I had in my 20s.
Oh, yeah.
Because I used to just think, oh, this stuff in the Middle East, what's going on? I'm going to get drafted. Oh, shit. But that kind of feeling.
I'm going to war.
And I think it came from that movie because it was just so stark. And, but we did that one for a very specific reason. And that was, it's considered that's true. But you're not wrong too, because there's so many great lines in it that everyone knows. That it just felt like it was it was the right thing to do. But like Saving Private Ryan isn't chock full of that. It's just people dying and feeling bad. And,
Full Metal Jacket is really special. It's kind of hard to explain, because if you just watch the whole movie, you're like, it really drags in parts, and it's telling a story you've seen already. You've already heard all these stories, but there's something about it, especially the first third, the first sequence.
Yeah, I mean, because it's one of those movies that's half a movie about basic training and all the stuff that goes on there, and then the second half is war is hell. It's like
you think that basic training was bad,
right? But it's like From Dusk Till Dawn, where the first half is a crime caper in a Winnebago, and the second half is vampire fighting.
Yeah, you're actually is a really good comparison, because it is it's disjointed in a way that it feels weird. Like you went to two movies, and even the characters that move on from training, like can't think of his name,
Butterball. Oh, yes, Butterball does not make it from training.
No, he doesn't.
It was a bad turn.
He very much does not.
Toilet gun. Yeah. But when, what's his name? Someone just said his name.
Matthew Modine.
Matthew Modine. He leaves. He's barely even, I don't even think of him as the same guy. It's just like,
right. Did he yell? Did he even yell at his rifle anymore after that? I can't even remember.
Did he see his war face? Let me see his war face again.
That's right.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, those lines, dude. It must be a weird thing for him, Kubrick in particular. Well, you know what? I take that all back. Kubrick has a way of making his movies both high art and crazy quotable, almost memey, right? Memes at a time there were no memes. So this, and you take The Shining, for example. they're full of things that you're like, hey, here's Johnny, and things you just remember, Red Rum or whatever. I don't think he intends to do that, but he makes movies or made movies that we all want to repeat the dialogue in them.
Yeah, the line. Yeah.
It's weird thing for him.
Yeah, he's good at it. He's good at making movies. He should make some more. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's not going to make any movies.
So Scott mentioned 1917, Dunkirk. Anybody else got a war movie that they've just never gotten around to watching?
You just said two of them.
See 1917. So good. You got to watch that.
It is so good. Yeah.
But Dunkirk's a hard sell for a lot of people. It's so intense. It's so loud and it's so vicious.
Oh, it's so good though, man. I can. That's one of my favorites.
I will get to it. I don't know what my problem is, but I haven't seen
Fury.
it.
That was one that I did want to watch.
Fury's really good too.
I want to see that one.
That is sackable, actually. Like, I think even Inglourious Bastards might be.
Yeah,
that's a tough watch.
Sackable.
It's good, but
it's tough, but it might be sackable. There's a lot of great lines in it. There's a lot to talk about there. There's a lot of meat on that bone. I think that could be interesting. But
you ever do Black Hawk Down?
I love Black Hawk Down so much. Did we do it?
And that's an example of yes, we absolutely could sack it because I would love to sit and watch it with you. But it's
that movie.
It's not so brutally about the depths of war.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like there's a lot of movies like that. Like Three Kings comes to mind.
Great movie, but
what's another one?
There's a lot of army movies I have not seen or military movies.
Oh, you know what? That movie is worth your time. It's very, very good.
Yeah. I mostly stick with the sci-fi wars.
I prefer them as well. Like I've got friends I got a friend who's he grew up in the Navy, or he went to Navy Academy and stuff. And he's just obsessed with any kind of war movies, loves them all. Mm-hmm. He prefers something that's a little on the side of, America saved everybody. He's kind of got that whole vibe going on. Yeah. And I prefer the ones that are a more honest look at how war works.
Yeah. Well, I want to actually dig into that. Let's interrogate something, because I'm fascinated by how there are war movies, lots of them. There's lots of, Pearl Harbors and Casualties of War and this kind of thing. They have a thing that's very, very human. Like you are being faced with something that you don't want to really, you don't ever want to experience yourself, right?
Yeah.
But it's a truth. It's historical, and you have a feeling for that. Then there's these fake war movies like Edge of Tomorrow or Wing Commander. We sacked Wing Commander.
Ooh, sure.
I'm curious, like, can you actually get a feeling about war from those movies?
I think so.
Absolutely.
It depends on the message they're doing. So like if it's the one with all the bugs you just mentioned.
I think Starship Troopers is perfect. Starship Troopers is perfect because it really gives you that anxiety of being, recruited and against your will.
You've got
overwhelming
the tropes of like, seeing a map and seeing the areas that the other side of the war, like the other your enemy is taking over, and it's like a strategic risk looking thing. And that's one of the aspects of a sci-fi war film is seeing those sorts of things, or even a regular war film.
Yeah, I agree with that. I feel like the stakes are better in that, and there are things about that movie you watch now and just go, this is bad. Like there's acting that's bad. Some of the characters are terrible, but there's something in the overall arc of it. I don't know if it's Verhoeven or what at play here, but you get the sense of a much more meaningful underbelly. And I feel that way with RoboCop. I feel that way with most of his movies.
Oh yeah.
Because
it's smart, because that's what he's doing. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to point it out.
Yeah, and that's really good. Yeah, it's really good that you get that from that. But a lot of like Edge of Tomorrow, which I love Edge of Tomorrow. Love it.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like the stakes are as high.
Don't you marry it?
Maybe it's because it's got time travel. Time travel, makes everything easier. But I don't know. There's something about that doesn't quite have the heft of something like Starship Troopers, even though Starship Troopers on its face of it is much more fantasy based and science fiction based. Like it's outright silly in some ways, but still I walk away from it going, war. What is it good for? So it's a really interesting question. I think it just depends on who's in charge and who's writing and what they're trying to get out of it. I'm trying to think of another like science fiction thing where it feels like the stakes are really high, and it's hard to think of one.
I just can't. I guess this is just me. No one feels this too. But like, I can't feel an actual danger and risk for humanity when I'm watching science fiction war.
Yeah.
What about Star Trek?
I'm just like, oh yeah, the people, but I'm just like, it's not something that I would ever have to actually deal with in the real world. So there's like, I can just like not feel that, the real fear,
Now, is that good or bad for entertainment?
Yeah, well, I mean,
consumption.
Right. That's why I think why Starship Troopers was such a shocker, because you got some of that through it, even though it was a giant alien with a butthole for a face, and you're just like, well, this shouldn't be that serious, or it shouldn't feel this way. But somehow I feel really uncomfortable and really nervous, and these losses feel like real losses, and But then on the other hand, one of the Golden Girls is teaching a class. It's like I can't take this seriously. It's weird. Such a weird movie.
I like it because it shows the energy and the life that is in young people, and then it shows that being snuffed out and just decimated just in the most violent way possible.
That's
which
a
is
great
what war
point.
is, right? I mean, everybody's we send our young people to war. They're the ones who have the most life, and it's the biggest.
And the distinction is, if it takes place on Earth, it's an invasion film. If it takes place on another planet, it's a war film, right? Independence Day is an invasion film.
Right.
War of the Worlds is an invasion film.
Right.
And they even went as far in that movie in Starship Troopers to ask, wait a minute, I thought they were the bad guys. And for a minute they go, oh, it's us, not the bugs.
Which brings me to my next question, and that is, are all war movies anti-war?
Absolutely
is there a purpose that comes through, whether they intend it or not, where you come away thinking, I don't want that?
I think stuff in the 40s and 50s were propaganda almost in how they were pro-war, or at least rah the Allies. But I think
that's because that's what that's hard to sell, right? It's like after the Vietnam War, we didn't have any Vietnam War movies because it felt bad.
Well,
right?
a part of it too is part of that too is from the 60s forward. We've got color film. We have more film. We have more cameras. We have more evidence of the horrors of war on all sides. And I think it's just a harder sell. Like, if you want to get up and go, war, check it out, we're awesome.
Check it out, it's awesome, baby.
It also comes with whatever you bring to it. If you are very anti-war, you're probably bringing that to the viewing of that film.
That's
makes it divisive, right?
I think that's a really good point. But like, say something like Saving Private Ryan, which is about the World War II, the big one, and could have been laced with all these tropes about how honorable it is. It doesn't. It's not afraid to look square down the barrel of the nastiness of war and really lay into it. And I think we're done with movies that are supposed to make you feel patriotic about war. I think that's over. I can't remember the last time.
Man. I think we've
Well, name one recently though. You can't. They're not.
Well,
all
I'm not saying. What I'm saying is, I'm not saying it won't rise again. I'm saying that we've experienced a pretty good time here, where we don't have to feel like we're on our heels. Sure, we feel threatened lots of times, but the real honest truth is, we're for the most part, we're pretty comfortable.
Oh, no question. But what I'm saying is, but do you think that the result of that? Let's say
9/11. We went. I mean, most of us during 9/11, at least like the first couple, the first couple of hours, we're all like, "Holy shit, we got to get out there and do something." It's like, and as months went by, I was like, "Okay, let's be more rational about it." But there is moments.
Yeah, but as it shows up in film, even those showcase heroic deeds by regular people and decry the moves of big shakers and makers in the world who are doing political movement. Like they don't make it seem like George Bush rose to the occasion and
just remember, we're old and we've seen a lot of shit. And so we may not be the people who are getting this brand new vision of some new evil in the world that will be the ones dealing with this. They may be the consumers of the film. So,
well, they might be, but what I'm saying is, are they so,
again.
I don't think they're going to be that stupid to not notice it. I think they're going to understand what they're saying. We don't give the younger generation enough credit, because they're going to remember at one point we were a younger generation that saw through a lot of the bullshit our parents and grandparents saw, and then same thing's happening now. They see through it. They're not They're not stupid. I think that they know when they're getting propagandized, and they know when they're not.
Half of this country is disagreements with the other half. I think there's a potential for people to experience something that's happened in the past. Again, history repeats itself, man.
Oh, no, you're not wrong. I'm just talking film, straight film here. That's all I'm talking about. Will our entertainment suddenly ever... See, this is where I don't think it'll ever happen. I think people are too cynical about everything they see. So when you see a new movie and that movie's like, yeah, let's go. A much smaller percentage of people are fooled by that kind of shit now. Way less people. But you do that in the 40s and everyone's like, that's right.
That's
MacArthur.
hard to say. What I'm trying to do, I think... I agree with you. If something dropped today in our current environment and how we are at all the content we're getting fed, I can agree with you. Nothing this week is going to come out like that. But I'm like going, 50 years in the future. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I don't know. Nobody knows 50 years in the future, but I don't know. I'm just saying, like, my kids and their kids, I'm not that worried about them. They'll be all right. They're better than us.
I know one thing for sure about the future, and that is after a war happens in the real world, we get movies that are set in that war, and we have a future, for example, where good movies are set in Ukraine in 2022.
Yeah.
Like that's a thing that's going to come. And I'm fascinated by how as the decades have gone by, the war films have gotten better, right?
Sure.
Like it's just a thing. We have, a movie like Three Kings is just a good movie. It's well made, well acted, and so forth. It's about a more recent war. And then I don't know, a movie like Hamburger Hill or something like there was enough time after Vietnam for some movies, some stinkers to be made about it.
Yeah.
And I don't think that is as common now and in the future. I think we don't call for generic, quick, low budget movies about war anymore.
Yeah, I don't think you get to start in a serious place like, say, First Blood, and then make some really raw, ridiculous sequels like the Rambo sequels, and then also come back to the really dark stuff later with Rambo 2008 and forward. I think that's a bygone thing where we water that shit down and even make like a kid's cartoon where they take his nipples off for some reason. You know what I mean? Like,
do you think Trauma films will make any war movies? You think have they made any?
Is Trauma doing anything now? Are they around?
I don't know. Are they still doing stuff? I would know. Is there war movies by these guys? Maybe besides the Toxic Avenger, obviously a war against, toxicity, but still. Other than that,
there is a new one of those coming out, but I don't know who's actually doing it. I think that's like someone has the rights now. That I don't know. I don't know what Troma's doing. Maybe Troma's fully, back in it. I don't know.
Founded 50 years ago this year. Wow, 50 years, Troma. Good job.
Yeah, good job, Troma. You've done it. Really,
so
50 years. Jeez.
I didn't answer my own question earlier.
Did you want to answer the question too?
I've been thinking about it. I never got around to watching Born on the 4th of July.
I haven't either. Never seen it.
I've seen it.
I've seen that either, actually, now that you mentioned it.
I'm the only one who's seen that one? Wow, okay.
I mean, I know what it is. I've
seen it several times.
Like, as soon as Ibbott brought it up earlier about the effects of war on somebody later, I went, oh, yeah, that's one of those.
It is the perfect example of that, yeah.
Yeah, but I never saw it. Was that an Oliver Stone joint? I don't remember.
Correct.
Yes.
And that's why I was too young for it when it first came out. And then later, I went through a phase where I was just like so mad at Oliver Stone for being a conspiracy theorist, and I was mad at Tom Cruise for being a Scientologist and all that. Yeah. And I was just like, no, I will never watch this. And then I kind of mellowed out on all of it, but I just haven't gotten around to seeing it.
Does it feature the song "For What It's Worth" by Buffalo Springfield? Something happened in here.
It probably does, right?
Another requirement.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Creighton's Clearwater Revival, "Fortunate Son," and
it is funny how those happen. They're like
not Fortunate Son. What is it? What is it?
There's usually a helicopter. There's a red one. There's a helicopter flying. Yeah, it's Fortunate Son. You're right.
I had to go through the whole song to get to it.
I like that you got
nailed
there.
It.
That's funny.
I actually looked up a list of somebody's favorite Vietnam War songs.
Yeah.
Those two are at the top of the list, right?
Fortunate Son by CCR, War by Edwin Starr.
Oh, sure.
We Got to Get Out of This Place by the Animals.
Yes.
Oh,
And For What It's Worth by Buffalo Springfield.
A new TV show that I just love that uses that. We got to get out of this place, and I'm going to talk about it on Wednesday because I love it so much.
Oh, really?
Nice.
It's actually a shockingly long list, and you can hear them all. Like All Along the Watchtower by Jimi Hendrix. Thank You China Beach for Paint It Black by the Rolling Stones being associated with,
What's the Doors song? There's like a Doors song that always connects to war films.
Riders on the Storm.
Riders on the Storm, yeah.
So yeah, it's just
Yes.
yeah, but it's almost like an unwritten rule. Maybe it's because those are the songs of the time. They were the rebellious songs of the time, and so you're just like, well, that's just inexorably connected.
That's what you wrote. That's what you would write, right? I mean, that's what you would write during that time. What's the most important thing to write about? War, dadgummit.
But has anyone done a Vietnam War movie that was portrayed in a positive light? It doesn't exist.
I would argue that we've sacked it also.
Yeah.
What's that?
And that's Flight of the Intruder.
Oh, shit.
It's very hero worshipy. There's a little betrayal in there, right? There's a little of the dark depths of this stupid thing that we're doing, but it's pretty much a straightforward hero goes on an adventure.
Yeah.
And I actually want to we have to wrap up and get out of here. I just wanted to ask you all, we've sacked 4 movies. We've only spoken of 4 movies that are actual war movies. It's Flight of the Intruder, Dirty Dozen, Pearl Harbor, and Full Metal Jacket. Does that surprise you?
Maybe.
Or is it more than you were thinking coming in?
That's about right. But I'm also surprised we
yeah.
haven't done more like older things, 50s Guns of Navarone or some shit that everybody thinks is the almighty war movies. So I'm a little surprised we haven't done more of those, but maybe not that surprised. We lean more toward genre. We want genre, we want adventure, we want fantasy, we want sci-fi, horror, whatever.
Would you sack Apocalypse Now?
No, because it's too long for Brian Dunaway.
I would have then.
Two-parter for Dunaway, yes, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very long.
Is this a 6-hour movie? Cripes. And we just watched The Thin Red Line.
It's 2.5 hours. It's 2.5 hours.
The big cut, whatever it's called, the one that's supposed to be the final best cut, is very long and very good. And the restoration on the footage is amazing. It looks like it was made yesterday, and you'd swear it was, another Sheen kid, Sheen's grandson instead of him, because it just looks new. But and it's awesome, but that one has never struck me as very sackable.
The day you guys try to make me watch The Thin Red Line is the day this podcast is.
Oh man,
that's one that I always say, like, if you haven't gotten around to seeing it, you can just skip it. It's too much.
Yeah, 3 hours of a tour of. Guess what celebrity we have in this troupe? It's going to be great.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Wow.
Thin Red Line is weird. That is a weird war movie. Right. I don't even think.
Is there even war in that movie? I fell asleep. Okay.
Sort of. I mean,
Terrence going to have some war in your war film.
Right. Terrence Malick, this is what he does. He makes movies that don't exactly fit. Like I've seen, what was it? The Tree of Life, 2011, something like that.
Oh.
Remember that Brad Pitt thing?
Yeah.
That was weird.
Yeah,
dude.
No, I didn't.
It was weird. It was boring as hell.
Yeah,
Good.
It's not my favorite thing in the world.
Glad I didn't see it then.
So I you know what I say? Let's not do that one. Let's never do that.
Why? Your real quick question: why are war movies often so long? The Deer Hunter is over 3 hours long. Why is that?
The Deer Hunter is great, but
it is really good. Yeah.
Do I want to see?
I think it just takes a long time. Typically, war movies are long because such a large cast of characters. Because you can't have a war movie without tons of people, right? And so it's just
if you want your audience to care about the soldiers, about the people in the war, you have to do a lot of exposition to set them up, and that probably is what takes a long time.
Otherwise, know who's back home.
There are no stakes. It's like, oh well, okay, well that soldier died. I guess we, didn't know him, and
okay, well, like related to that though, like couldn't you make it shorter? Like I'm just like. Could Schindler's List be shorter than 3 hours, 15 minutes? Is my question.
I mean,
are you trying to start a fight?
Oh man, could it be longer or shorter? You're saying
Enemy Mine is shorter because you've only got 2 guys fighting the war.
Exactly. That's a great point. That's the minimum amount of time for a war movie.
Right.
Did we haven't done Enemy Mine, right?
Yeah, we have.
Have we?
Totally done Enemy Mine.
Shit.
Long time ago.
With Louis Gossett
staying
Jr.
silent
Yeah.
on this one because I'm not 100% sure.
Are you sure? Because I feel
Totally
like
I do not have Enemy Mine in our list.
It's a lie. That's a bald-faced lie right
we
now.
haven't done it. You're right. We've not done it. We need to do Enemy Mine. And I know we just did Lou Gossett Jr. last week, but you know,
I'll always watch it.
he's an alien, so
I'll
it's
watch it in
fine.
my mind.
I'll put it on our upcoming. Well, I'll tell you something I never ever list for us to consider is Civil War movies, and I come across them all
It's
the
because
time.
I'm from the South, isn't it? Is that the problem? Is it up in here? Is it? Oh,
And that's why. Because you're a white supremacist
like
from the South who wants the South to rise again. That's why.
But a part of it is we're realizing that war movies are always long.
Yeah.
Like I come across Cold Mountain all the time. I think it's a very good movie, but it's over 2.5 hours.
Yeah. Some of them, it's why are war movies so long? They must need it.
I don't know, but what do you think?
Well, I think it's because they have to establish the characters so you care about them. So
I think the minimum length of one of that, maybe like Enemy Mine would be a good example of.
Enemy Mine. Because then you've only got 2 people you have to care about, and one of them has a red-on airline. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Did I really loop that? I looped that whole thing.
That's fun.
I'm
really
desperately
is
trying to come up with a movie that we haven't mentioned right now.
I know we've mentioned
like
so many.
Patton is 3 hours long, and it doesn't have to be.
No, Patton's a good example
all about
of
that
not
one
needing
guy,
it.
right?
I
Yeah.
think I've seen Patton. I just know the
haven't seen
trope
it
of
either.
him standing in front of the flag.
That's all I know.
Because that
too.
thing has been mimicked so many times.
It's quite good, but it's very, like you say, it's long. These are all long.
Long. Try.
Yeah. Look, length is important in some
Length is
context.
an issue for us here on Film Set.
Yeah, like this
And it may
roundtable
be
episode. Go ahead.
It may be the answer to the question. We don't like to sack movies that are just a big bummer, but also we don't like to sack movies that take forever to finish.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I also don't like something I feel like I need to. How do I put
Comment
this?
on?
Well,
Because
no.
we have to. I feel obligated when watching a war movie to comment on the realities of.
Yeah, it's hard to
action.
avoid them, right? Yeah.
Right.
Hard to avoid talking about the hard stuff. And I don't know. True Blood. First Blood was as close, I think, as we got to that.
Well, that was
where
fun.
It was more. It was obviously very aftermath, but it was big subjects like PTSD and what we used to call shell shock, and what happens when you go back into regular civilian life, and how does that change things? I mean, the movie was great at asking those questions, and then it immediately turned into an arcade game from 2 forward.
Yeah.
So
Forget
weird.
those questions.
Yeah, forget those
Watch us
questions.
kill some people.
Yeah, watch me blow up a guy into a million pieces using a single arrow with an explosive tip. Yeah,
And that is what Sylvester Stallone is really good at, is bringing these questions before you and then just, putting them on a table and then kicking them off the table and going, wee! And it's, but the questions still get asked, right? So,
Yep. Well, that's what we're here to help do, is help ask them. Thank you all for listening to today's roundtable episode. We always enjoy doing these. Next week we got a movie slotted in. What are we doing?
Return of the Texas.
Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's right.
Or Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is the title I prefer, or the one that was at launch, which was Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the TNG.
The next generation, which is what it comes up as on Wikipedia and IMDb and that sort of thing. So,
what a dumb idea to do.
It's terrible.
It's really. Did that come after Star Trek, or didn't it?
Yeah, it did, and it's supposed to be. It was actually directed by the co-writer of the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and it's supposed to be, in his opinion, the follow-up story to the original. So you can forget 2 and 3.
So are we looking at, like the next generation of Leatherface, like Leatherface's children? It's your children, Leatherface.
Yeah, it's your children. And also he wears those, he wears a banana clip, and he can't see. And it's kind of like, oh, that's
come on,
Jordy.
Yeah.
Really?
Go ahead, Randy.
Next week, Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, 1995, Matthew McConaughey, Renee Zellweger. We're watching it on Peacock. Hurry up.
Yeah, watch it. It's on Peacock. You can't let Peacock waits for no man. All right.
Or you can borrow my VHS copy, whichever.
Oh, yeah, that's fine. We need some scan lines to make us forget. That's what we need.
I can't wait till the Leatherface slices Renee Zellweger in half and she goes, "You complete me."
Yeah.
You complete me.
Oh, my gosh. I need. No, how was it? What's the line? Not just the completely. No. It's the other line in that movie where he goes,
You had me at hello.
Oh, maybe that was it. That was it. That would be amazing.
You had me at
Yeah, you had me at the first tug on your freaking Craftsman thing.
Which one was it? Which one was it? The Leatherface got the gold chainsaw.
What?
If you watch the trailer, there's like, it might have been 3, I think, where he gets the golden chainsaw. It's like the trailer only shows him standing by the water side, like it's the back of him, and like the lady of the water comes up, Excalibur style, and
and it the chainsaw sticks up out of the water.
Yeah, launches the golden chainsaw.
All right, I need to look this up. Oh my gosh, there is a golden one. What? Why though? What was it, like a moment of like, oh, now he can't be stopped because he's got the golden chainsaw.
Right. You know, you're competing against Jason. He's going to space. What you gonna do?
I love it when we start pre-sacking something.
It's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
You want to hear my song? I've already got it done.
Great. Great. Everything here in Texas comes with the chainsaw.
That's how we're gonna kick off our Halloween season, though. It's gonna be a great kickoff. I can't wait.
Yeah, love Sacktober, and we know you guys do too. So looking forward to talking to you all next week. That'll do it for us. Filmsack.com for all things you need. We'll see you then.